Have you ever wondered what it's like to build a career helping children and families through some of life's biggest challenges? In this episode of Nova Careers, we're talking with Melissa, an operations coordinator at Children's Harbor, a nonprofit that provides free retreats and support for families facing life-altering medical diagnoses. Hello, everyone. This is Vanessa with Nova Careers, and tonight I am with Melissa. Melissa, can you tell me what you do and just introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Melissa. I'm the operations coordinator at Children's Harbor at Lake Martin in Alabama.
Okay. So you said the operations coordinator.
Yes.
Can you describe that a little bit more?
Yeah. It's probably easier to kind of go like big picture to small picture.
Okay.
But as an operations coordinator, I work at a nonprofit that is dedicated to serving families and children who are experiencing a life altering diagnosis. And so that can be anything from a bleeding disorder to pediatric cancer to asthma to a developmental disorder or autism, just like a full range of spectrum of life changing diagnoses. And we work in a twofold capacity. So, the first thing we do is we have a wing in the Children's Hospital in Birmingham, Alabama, and it is a doctor free zone where families can come and get a library book and take it home with them. Or if the child is still in the hospital, they can just come down and play the claw machine, or mom and dad can wash their laundry. They provide, laundry services there, as well as napping rooms and just all kinds of resources and things available to these families at no cost to them. And that also includes counseling services. So that's really cool. What I do is I work at our retreat center. So our retreat center is a 66-acre lakefront retreat, and that's where all of our families come for free. And so they have their own kind of diagnosis population camps. And so we work with outside organizations that, serve their own, but then we also run our own camps.
Okay.
And so as an operations coordinator, one of my main roles is all of our facility keys. And so making sure people have the right things when they need them, making sure that things are coming back correctly, as well as just like helping manage the day-to-day operations of our main office. And then, extending beyond that, I do help run our camps, help plan things, inventory, lots of logistics, as well as programming, which is my favorite part.
Okay. So you said make sure that they have what they need. And then is that like if they are borrowing, do they have activities that they can do? Stuff like
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay.
So we have a couple of activities and amenities that we offer. For example, we have a silent disco set. We have a really nice karaoke machine. We also have yard games. We have mini golf. And it's all accessible, which is really my favorite part and the part I'm most passionate about. But like wheelchair accessible mini golf course, like 18 holes, like
Oh, wow.
I didn't even know that existed before I
Right.
started working here. But yeah, it's like making sure they have the access that they need to all of those things, as well as, oh, hey, we forgot this, or maybe we forgot that. Do we have it? Do we have, items in our lending closet that they can use for, adaptive equipment? Or it could be as simple as, hey, I forgot my shampoo and conditioner. Great. We have a hygiene closet. Let me get that for you.
Okay. That makes sense. And then you also said that there's other organizations. So
hmm
do you guys provide camps or do camps, but also other organizations come in?
Yes. So the organizations, essentially what they do is they apply for a grant through our nonprofit, and the grant allows them like a specific amount of money to come for however many days they're requesting. And that money includes the actual grounds and facilities, as well as like linens and, those little bits and pieces that no one wants to be able to bring themselves when they come to camp.
Okay. And you did say, and I was too busy trying to write down questions to ask you, but you'd said your favorite part was what
Programming.
the programming. Okay.
And
What
so
does
that
that entail?
programming, yeah, that entails, that's when we run our own camps. So with our
Okay.
mission partner camps or outside nonprofits, when they come in, they have their own camp themes and their own like activities and games that they come up with. But then when we run our own, we do all of that. So, for example, like we have an arts and crafts room, and getting to hang out in there and being able to paint a ceiling tile with a child and their family who may have mobility issues. And that can look as simple as, working with the child to paint it together, Well, mom can just sit there and interact and do her own arts and crafts activity with her child instead of having to do it for their child.
Gotcha. So the kids that come to the camp, are they primarily from Alabama or are they from all over the US?
Uh, Primarily from Alabama, we do have some camps who will allow it kind of just depends. Most of our camps are all like local, or
Okay.
as far as like in the state of Alabama local. But then we also have some people who come from Georgia. We have a rare disease camp where some people come from Ohio. So
Okay.
yes and no. It
Okay.
just kind of depends on who is running the camp and what their parameters are to come.
Right. So probably more so Alabama, but I imagine that a lot of states have a similar program or camp.
Yeah, I know of a couple of other, camps like this across the United States, and there's actually it's called the American Camp Association, and they are like an accredited program that camps can put like they can apply for accreditation, and that's one thing that we have. And so we
Okay.
have a lot of, other safety measures that maybe some non-accredited camps would have, but that's also due to the nature of, the populations we work with.
Right. So then do you have to make sure that you special medical resources on site because of the nature of the children that you're dealing with?
Yeah, so we have some specialty medical equipment that could be like for us, specialty would be like maybe like a feeding bag. So if a child is being fed through an NG tube or G tube or J tube, just making sure like, oh, hey, we have this extra bag, or maybe we have this extra pump tubing. But it is hard because everyone is different. Things are so specialized, and sometimes things take like actual prescriptions in order to have. So we have some things we're not able to provide, all of the things everyone could need.
Okay. So how did you end up in this position? How did you get into this career field?
Yeah, so I'm chronically ill myself. When I was a teenager, I had a life altering blood disorder, and that kind of spiraled into about a year and a half of trying to navigate and find another diagnosis because the blood disorder was resolving itself, but I was still having other problems. And so that kind of really altered my perspective, of course. I was 17, almost 18, getting ready to go to college, thought I knew what I wanted to do. And then, life changes, and I found, the world of being chronically ill and people experiencing life altering medical things. And that community served me so much, and they really helped me, my family, my mom, and I've always been a person of service. That's something I always wanted to do, and I found that avenue for me. So I decided to go to Auburn University to pursue something called child life. And so a child life specialist, they work in pediatric hospitals. And so their main role is to mitigate as much medical trauma that happens. And so that can be anywhere from helping provide distraction to a child, or that can be doing actual like medical play. So we're about to get, this MRI or this procedure done. And so we have a teddy bear and we have a pretend MRI machine, and we're, navigating that through the language of children, which is play. But that also
Gotcha.
expands to the families as well. So while doing that, I kind of just I decided not to pursue certification because I want to go to grad school and I want to get into the research field. But I decided to, take a step back from like being in the hospital setting, and during an internship my senior year, I went to camp where I work now, and they were like, "Hey, we would love to, introduce you to our CEO and our operations person, because we have a spot that needs to be filled. She's going to grad school, and I'm literally dressed in camp clothes, sweating my butt off. It's Alabama in July, and was just doing like a education session with some kids who have asthma, and I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'll send you my resume. What kind of questions do you have?" So it was a spur of the moment kind of thing, but I think it is where I'm meant to be right now. So
Yeah. And well, it definitely sounds like it's where you're meant to be for sure for this time for this season.
absolutely.
Did you for this particular job, did you need the schooling that you have?
Yes, they did, or not my particular schooling. They just preferred someone who had a bachelor's degree.
Okay.
And so that was one of the few requirements, as well as just, being flexible and being able to, one, think on your feet. Because sometimes, our kids who have medical needs have medical emergencies.
Right.
And when you're in charge, like that is your responsibility. So just a lot of, logistics and organization and those kinds of skills.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's one of the questions I ask is who would be good at this job? So,
Yeah. So it's,
organization.
yeah, organization for sure. And that's like physical and digital.
Okay.
But which I never thought to explain it like that, but it makes sense. Like, I always have to inventory physical items, but then I have to be able to organize paperwork and documentation and those kinds of things, and making sure that you can follow the protocols that are set, as well as, suggest improvement.
Okay. Yeah.
But also, you definitely have to be a people person.
Mm,
There's a lot of talking. Sometimes we just have people, wander into the front office off the road. We have a lighthouse on our
okay.
campus, and so that's very visible from the road, and everyone wants to come take pictures. So, just making sure you're a people person with the public as well as with being sensitive to diverse populations.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's lots of patience. I'm not sure patience is the right word, but there's a lot to deal with. So I'm sure it
Mhm.
takes a special person to be able to deal with all the emotions that are going on with the families, with the kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, some you don't unless you're in that world, you don't realize that simply being able to provide a family breakfast, lunch, and dinner for a weekend is a huge thing taken off their plate. It's something that mom or dad don't have to think about. They don't have to worry about catering to their child's, dietary needs because we have all that information beforehand. So we
Okay.
are able to provide those kinds of things. Or like gluten-free snacks, like a lot of our kids have, a lot of food problems. And so just being able to provide a wide variety of things that they may not have access to at home, or because medical things are extremely expensive.
Right.
And so a extra box of snacks can mean the difference between a half a tank of gas
Right.
to
Absolutely.
get to an appointment that you've been waiting for 6 months. So,
Right. Yeah. So what would you say is your favorite part of the job?
man, it's really just being able to take the time to connect with families and making them feel welcome and like they're not alone. Because a lot of people, especially with our more rare diagnoses, some kids have never seen other children who have the same thing that they have, or siblings don't meet other siblings who have a younger, older sibling who has the same diagnosis. So it's really just like that connection with the families, but then being able to provide a space and activities for them to explore themselves and to be able to reconnect with their own families. That's my favorite.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I didn't even think about that aspect because I think I was thinking parents and child, but the
Mhm.
siblings come to the camps as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So all of the camps that we run ourselves, our Children's Harbor family retreats, they are for the entire family. So
Okay.
anyone that's living in the household, and sometimes, extended family comes, but those are more rare cases, or cases where, intergenerational household families.
Gotcha. Well, and I think too that it's hard to be a sibling, I'm sure. It's hard to be that sibling who has a sibling who has a chronic disease because a lot of times that focus is on the one who's has the bigger needs. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that's great for them to not only be able to be there and have some fun, but also to meet others who understand them as well.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the family dynamics absolutely change, when life circumstances like that alter. And so a big, part of my passion for research in this field and doing these kinds of things are like working with families and how families are able to cope with these things and build resilience. Yeah, that's the families really just are what make the difference for me.
Right. What's your least favorite part of the job?
Hmm. My least favorite part is the I wanna say the office work, like having to sit and be still and, make
Not
sure
the
all the
hands-on.
yeah, I love the hands-on and the programming, but I do understand, the value and the need for logistics.
Mhm.
So I don't believe it was my strongest skill coming in, but it is definitely a skill I have been able to cultivate really well here. So that has helped a lot.
Yeah. Well,
That
and
is
that's
also my
good.
least favorite part.
It's stretched you a little,
Yeah,
in an
yeah.
area that you didn't think was maybe your strongest, but you've learned and adapted to that, so.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Look, you gotta learn or you gotta adapt or get left behind,
Yeah. Keep learning, keep learning. Yeah.
always.
So is there any advice that you would give someone who might be interested in a field like this?
Yeah, jump in. My biggest advice is to jump in. It is scary. It is so scary to put yourself out there and to be like, "Hey, my name is so and so. Like, can I come volunteer with you?" Or what would it be like to, come work a day in your classroom or come shadow you at in the hospital?
Mhm.
You just have to really you have to reach out and put yourself out there, and then just make sure that you are cultivating relationships, because I got this job from somebody who knew somebody who introduced
Right.
me to this my internship director. Like, she was like, "Oh, like, let's have a conversation, let's figure out where we're at and where we wanna go." And she immediately, as soon as I started talking, she was like, "You know what? I really think the College of Nursing and the outreach programming there would like be perfect for you. Like, let me get in contact with her." And that's kind of how it fell into my lap with my internship that then, got me this job. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think networking is so important and we really don't realize that. So, do you guys have a lot of volunteers? Do you utilize volunteers? Yeah.
yes. A huge part, like our full time staff at our Lake Martin office, there's only like 6 of us. The rest of our team is part time or volunteers. And our volunteers are huge when it comes to like serving meals and making sure there's someone in the arts and crafts room to help clean up the paint spill or to help restock whatever it is that we need that day. Or to help the kids go fishing. We are on a lake. That is something we offer. And there are so many families who come who have never been on a boat or have never went fishing before. And just a volunteer being able to hang out, and a lot of our volunteers are older. And so it's really cool for to see them interact with younger kids and just like build those relationships as well. So our volunteers really are the heart of what we do.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and I feel like there was a time where there was more volunteering that happened and nowadays not as much, but it's definitely a great way to, experience different jobs or just, see get your toes wet and see if you're going to like something before you go and pursue it as a career or whatever.
Yeah. Especially going to college. College is so expensive.
Yes.
And I'm a firm believer, college is not for everyone. But for those of you who do want to go out and explore the kinds of jobs, or it does take a bachelor's of science or a master's degree to get into this field, it's easier to commit to something like that and to commit to putting that money and that
Mhm.
time and work into it when you have a little bit of experience beforehand.
Right. Yes, for sure. And you also mentioned something about shadowing, which one of my previous guests mentioned, and he was in the medical field. And so is that like a normal thing for I would never have thought that you could shadow someone. And he said the same thing that you did, like shadow before you spend that money on college. See if you really like it. So is
Yeah.
that a thing?
Yeah, so it depends on really where in the hospital you're wanting to shadow.
Uh-huh.
There are, HIPAA things that you have to consider, but even like especially in a lot of children's hospitals, the volunteers there, you can go to the volunteer floor and you can or the volunteer coordinator, excuse me, and you can be like, "Hey, this is something that I'm interested in. Do you have any opportunities that, would get me some experience with this or that would expose me to maybe this kind of population or this kind of job?"
Right.
So being able to find it that way, but also especially in medical like fields and degrees, clinicals are a huge part of that. So there's that experience there. But for certified child life specialists in general, a lot of times you can reach out and you can just be like, "Hey, this is my name. I'm really interested in doing this. Do you have like a day or half a day where I could come, shadow you for a couple of hours and see what you do?" Or even just interview somebody to ask them your own questions.
Right. Yeah. Like I'm doing. You just interview
Exactly.
them and talk to them. Yeah.
Full
Yes.
circle.
Which, yeah, I mean, and again, that goes back to what you had said to just get out there and put yourself
Mhm.
out there, introduce yourself to different people and, start a conversation. This is really interesting. How many jobs we see every day that we don't even think about. So if it something is interesting, introduce yourself to that person and start asking them questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, like, what's the worst they could say? No,
Right.
I don't have the time. Like, I understand. No, time is a very hot commodity in life,
Right.
But rejection isn't a bad thing. And
Right.
it helps build your tolerance really to it because
Right.
I find so many rejection emails, even though I do feel like I am successful, but I still get, oh, maybe you're not the right fit for us, or this doesn't really align with what we want to do. So we're moving on to the next candidate.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm still here. I'm doing a cool job and I'm enjoying it.
Right. Yeah. Well, you definitely, when you filled out your information for me, it sounded like you love what you're doing and are really using your unique gifts and your skills to do what you love. So that's awesome. I'm gonna look and see if I have another question here. So what in high school, and you kind of said that this was a different path. So what did you want to be when you were in high school?
In high school, I wanted to be a teacher.
Okay.
But my sister is a teacher. My mom has been in the education system as a paraprofessional working with special education since I can remember.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was like, I always loved working with kids. I loved babysitting. And actually, in college, I worked at a daycare. So I knew I wanted to work with kids. It just wasn't until my own life experience that kind of just shifted the lens for me a little bit.
Still working with kids, just
Still
in a
working with kids,
different.
just in a different context.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. It's good that, I mean, because again, people see, oh, I'm going to be a teacher because I love kids, but there's still so many different
Yeah.
careers that you can have that are working
Mhm.
with kids. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And
awesome.
my challenge was I love working with kids, but how do you navigate kids who are just having really bad days or are maybe a little bit spoiled or maybe have like how do you navigate the crises and the shutdowns and things at school? That was always something that I was worried about. And
Hmm.
then I was like, "Oh wait, I don't have to do that." Huh, awesome.
Yes. Do you have any sort of a project that you work on that you really enjoy? I know you said you like the programming part of it, which I can understand.
Yeah. So, my bachelor's of science is in human development and family science, and so
Okay.
I'm very knowledgeable about like the development process from birth to adulthood,
Okay.
into like end of life. And so coming to this job, people were like, "How do we people, as in my the higher ups, so how do we navigate, explaining to volunteers how to communicate with children in these kinds of contexts most effectively?
Hmm.
Like, you can't just be like, you can't have two roles. You have to have a vegetable, you have to have a meat. But this child's autistic, and if the only thing they eat today is rolls, that's what they're going to eat,
Right.
you know?
That's a win.
Yeah, that's a win. We're so happy they're eating, let them eat. But just like things like that. And I was like, hey, that's my whole jam.
Mm,
So I'm actively actually right now working on a volunteer training to like how to effectively communicate and build relationships as a volunteer.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and so when my first turn in of it, it was a little too high level. So they were like, this is great start, like
Right.
awesome information, but we just need to dial it back a little, tone it down,
Right.
make it understandable to the everyday person. So
Like me.
exactly.
Yes.
Like you and like our awesome volunteers who just have a passion for serving and, want to do something good in their community,
Yeah.
but may not have the experience of working with children in these contexts to
Right.
have the most effective interactions?
Right. Yeah, you definitely wanna give them tools because it
Yeah.
is when you do volunteer, you want those volunteers to come back, and if they're being exhausted by not having the proper tools,
Hmm.
then they may not return. So, for sure, what you're developing is great to give them those tools so that they leave not feeling defeated or
Exactly.
not
Yeah.
exhausted because those circumstances can be tricky for sure.
Hmm. Yeah. And we want, volunteering is a great way to, fill your cup personally, but we
Mhm.
don't want it to take away from your cup and we don't want that negative interaction
Right.
that is no one's fault
Right.
because it just things happen, accidents happen, slips of the tongue, things like that can happen. So what we can do on our end to help prevent that and to help build your tool belt for
Right.
interacting with these people in the best ways that we can.
Yeah. That's awesome. I'm glad to see that you have that project that you're taking on, and yeah, that you're
Yeah.
developing that. I'm sure other places can use it as well once you get it fine-tuned.
Yeah, yeah, I would love that. I would love to, expand to maybe some other areas,
Yeah.
maybe do something like you do where I'm able starting my own business and
Mhm.
my own passion projects with it as well. So,
Well, that's awesome. Well, I have a few more questions, but they're easy questions. So
perfect.
I just want to thank you for all the information that you've given this far about what you do. And I have to go back to it because I scrolled past as an operations coordinator at Children's Harbor at Lake Martin. Yes? Okay. So, what was the first job you ever had?
Non-tax paying was babysitting,
Yeah.
but oh man, I think my first tax paying job was in retail actually.
Okay.
Was in college. I needed a job. No, actually, it was as a work study student.
Okay.
I worked for the Veterans Resource Center at the college I was going to in Montgomery.
Nice. That's a good service that you
Yeah,
had there.
the military connections help,
Yeah.
but it was also a good experience to like it really helped me understand how like benefits work
Mm.
and how like those kinds of processes come about and also just like the college institution of itself. Like from the outside, you think everything is very streamlined, but from the inside, the layers can get so complicated that it's so hard to navigate, especially as a first generation college student.
Right.
So that experience helped not only myself, but I was able to help other people who were going through the same thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Having navigated college with 2, yeah, it's so complicated. I mean, myself, but I don't remember it being as complicated way back when.
Hmm.
But yeah, and Melissa's also a military brat, so she
Yes.
had a connection too. She's an army brat to be specific.
Yes.
So, well, that's cool. I'm glad, and yeah, for sure, navigating the military stuff was even more complicated, it seemed like.
We know how the military loves their paperwork,
Oh, yes, for sure.
physical paperwork.
Yes. All right, let's see. What's one career you wouldn't want?
Anything IT.
Okay.
Please don't ask me how to fix your printer.
Nope.
No. Anything IT or like where I'm just stuck in an office all day.
Where like you said, you'd rather be up and doing things. You gotta get
Yes.
that paperwork and stuff done,
Yes,
but
it's
yeah.
it's necessary. Necessary evil.
But don't make you sit there all day.
But no, don't make me do it all day. Let
Yeah,
me let me let me go out and explore and let me put my hands on things and
and interact with people because
interact with
you
humans.
definitely are one who wants to interact with people, not sit in an office by yourself all day.
Yes.
Yeah. And then lastly, what's one piece of advice you would give a teenager?
Hmm.
I usually ask your 16-year-old self, but Melissa's young, so she's barely away from 16. Not that young. Okay. 10 years.
Yeah.
There you go.
Don't let anyone tell you you can't do something.
Okay.
'Cause that has been a big motivator in my life. Someone told me I can't you tell me I can't do something, and then I have to prove you wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So if
you
someone tells you you can't do
yeah,
anything, prove them wrong for sure.
absolutely. And if like, don't let someone put you into a box that doesn't exist,
Right.
you know? Like, explore, figure it out, be safe while you're doing it,
Hmm.
but don't let what other people think and the labels and the things that they put on you keep you from expanding yourself.
That's good. Yeah. Don't let someone put you in a box. It's your box. They don't get to
Exactly.
choose what it looks like.
Exactly.
It can be purple and it can be tattered and it can be whatever it wants.
It could be an A-frame house,
Right.
it could be a mansion. It's
Yeah.
your box. It is your life to live and to define.
Mm.
And please do it safely, but
But get out there and experience it. Yeah.
absolutely.
Great advice. Well, thank you again, Melissa, for being on here with me and talking with me, sharing with us what you do and your passion for helping those children who have life altering, right? That's how you said it, life
Yeah.
altering
Yep.
diagnosis.
Yeah, absolutely. It was my pleasure. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yes. Thank you.
Thanks for watching Nova Careers. If this interview helped you discover a new possibility, make sure to subscribe for new career conversations every Thursday. And remember, you can't dream what you've never seen.